Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's Reddit stories are from Am I the A-Hole? Story 1 is by New Bedroom Post. Am I the a-hole for putting my girls in a room that isn't a legal bedroom? I'm a single mom to 2 girls, 10 and 8, and a boy, 6. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment. Until recently, I had all of the kids sharing a bedroom. The girls had a bunk bed. My son had his toddler bed, and most of their stuff was kept in the playroom or hall closet. The playroom is our second living area. It's about 9 by 20 and is mostly separated from the rest of the house. It isn't a legal bedroom because it doesn't have a door or closet. The kids needed some space, so I moved the girls into the play area. We installed a sliding barn door to fix the no door issue and got them some IKEA wardrobes to fix the closet issue. They still have their bunk bed, but as they get older, I plan to get them their own beds and split the room with dividers so it feels like they have their own rooms. They love having all the extra space to play, and my son is excited to have his own room. The problem is, my brother visited and saw the barn door on the kids' room. He asked about it, and I told him it's the girls' new room. He's upset that I put the girls in there because apparently they'll be safer in a real bedroom with a real door, and that one day they'll realize I shoved them into the living room instead of giving up the master. Now I'm wondering if I shouldn't have put them in the playroom. Am I the a-hole? It seems that in order for a room to be considered a bedroom, like when you're selling a house, according to the International Resident Code, you need a way into the room, a door, a method of egress, usually through a window. You have to have 2 ways into and out of the room in case of fire, so you need your door and you need your window. You need at least 70 square feet of room to walk around, and 7 feet minimum of room length or width, and a 7-foot high ceiling. Having closet space is not a requirement, or even having a door that closes. You just need a door that they can get out of. It's just a privacy thing when they mention a door. Some of these modified bedrooms that parents make and work to make for their children so that they have privacy are fantastic and kids love them. I tried doing a little digging around to find the exact requirements, and it varies by state and it depends on who you ask. But you have to have an egress window for fires, and you have to have a doorway at least. And you have to have enough space for people to walk around in, and ceilings that aren't way too low. Being a single mom and living in a small place and you want the best for your kids, and so you set up an entire room for them, what is wrong with your brother? It doesn't matter that there's no standard door on it. They have a barn door that they can slide. It opens and closes and gives them privacy. I don't see what the issue is. Also down below by Lear4527. Info. So the only reason it's not a bedroom is because of the lack of door and closet. It has a window for egress, right? And the barn door gives them some degree of privacy. If so, not the a-hole. Funny that your brother has an opinion. Maybe if he feels so strongly, he should finance a new house for you guys. That's huge and has a room for everyone and a guest room and God knows what else. If the playroom doesn't have an egress window, I don't think you're an a-hole, but please don't do that. It's not safe. OP replied to this to say it has windows and a door to the balcony. Underneath that by Intrepid Try 6103. Not the a-hole. Those girls are gonna love having the balcony once they get older. A balcony off the bedroom is very Disney Channel teenage girl room dreams. Lol. Our next post is by Fart Watcher. Entitled brother thinks he's going to use our address for school enrollment. Context and side note, we live in the best school district in our state. I hate the fact that schools are tied to where you live because this causes a lot of disadvantages and disparate impact to certain communities, and it's overall unfair for those not lucky enough to be in our position. My golden child brother and his wife recently found they are expecting and asked which high school my children will be going to. He tells me he's going to send his kids to our school district because the school district where he lives sucks. I asked him if he was going to move or pay tuition because our school is not a school of choice. He responds, possibly, or we'll use your address. People do that. Like he didn't even ask, just assume he was going to use our address. The district where we live takes enrollment fraud very seriously, including private investigation, bed checks to make sure children actually live at the address on record, utility bills, etc. If you get caught committing fraud, it's a felony in our state, and I would lose my professional licenses to work in finance, and that would end my career. He proceeds to tell me that it's fine because I work with a guy who did the same thing and he uses his parents' address. When I told my brother that's illegal, he says, that isn't accurate because he didn't have to worry about that. Did someone tell you that specifically? So I said, those are the enrollment rules and current legal statuses of where we live. Then he goes, we'll look into it in a few years. Down in the comments by Aqua Venatus. If he attempts to do it, then make it clear you will report him. Enrollment fraud and displacement of students is taken extremely seriously in most states. I've witnessed families getting caught as a kid, and when I was an educator, please don't underestimate your brother. If he's that set on it, then encourage him to move to your district. Underneath by the OP, that's what we're gently trying to do. He's the type of person that when he doesn't get his way, it becomes a nightmare for everyone. And underneath that again by Aqua Venatus, then you might want to look up the actual charges for the felony and present them to him. And then there was one more comment a little further down that I actually agree with by Mecha Shiva 1. Don't do anything to persuade him. If he's as difficult as you say, just drop it. It will be years before it's an issue. You don't even know if you'll still live there when his kids start high school. When the day does come, you tell him no. No convincing, no justifications, just say no. In writing. Then, if he decides to do it anyway, you report it. Why cause over a decade of problems when you don't even know if it will happen? I agree with that statement. The brother sounds like a bit of a jerk. He also sounds like somebody who's willing to lie to get his way, but it's going to be a long time before the kid is enrolled in high school, so give it some time and don't cause any extra stressors right now for anybody. The kid's still unborn. You guys have lots of time. Your lives have plenty of time to change before the kid is high school age. But yeah, they mentioned in a previous comment displacement of students. They take it very seriously. Because schools do have a maximum capacity. They can only take so many kids. And if somebody is saying, oh yeah, I live there and my kid is going to go to your district because they like the school district better, then somebody who actually lives there may not have room. They get displaced to another school, which is also not fair. And yes, there is definitely a disparity. The nicest school districts are usually in places where people pay a lot of taxes and they have white picket fences and all this other BS. And they have the best teachers and they have the best resources and they get the most money from the government, and it's kind of sad that that happens. I feel like they need to put more money into making sure schools are up to snuff everywhere so that everybody doesn't say, oh, this school district sucks, but the one literally next door is good. Because then it causes people to want to jump ship like this. Our next story today is by Prof with Standards. This final story is a two-part story. They posted the original story about a month ago, and then they posted an update recently, and it's kind of crazy what they're going through. Entitled roommate wants to smoke me out of my career, so I let the leasing office know he was squatting. This is part 1. So I'm a male in my mid-20s, and my roommate and housemate, who's 18 to 25 male, who we'll call X, have been living together for a few months now. We didn't know each other at all before moving in. The leasing office chooses who lives with who in their apartments with more than one bedroom. Think college dorms. Anyways, he was a somewhat decent roommate or housemate up until one night when he had a huge fight with his girlfriend, who is 18 to 25 female, I'm guessing, who we'll call Y. But more on that later. I'm a non-smoker. The apartment does not permit smoking in the building, and I have a history of breathing problems that can be aggravated by smoking or secondhand smoke. I've mentioned this to my roommate, but he keeps smoking in the apartment. I've been able to cope with this situation thus far without any major issues, but after a ton of hard work, my waivers for enlistment in the Army finally got approved. I am ecstatic, but when I go to training, I'll be tested for all sorts of drugs I don't use. This includes weed, which is what X has been smoking. He wasn't smoking enough to cause much concern until recently, though. After I got the news about my enlistment, I mentioned to X that I was getting tested for weed soon. He then began smoking in the apartment at least once a day. Then I remembered back to the fight he had with his girlfriend. I don't really know the particulars of the fight because I had to get up early for work the next day, but based solely on the parts I did hear that night, it could have arguably passed as spicy bedtime activities, especially to someone exhausted from work who just wants to stay at least half asleep so they can wake up on time for the next day. The only reason I really know for sure that there was an issue is because when I got home from work the next day, I saw X had an eviction notice posted right there on the front door of the apartment. He was scheduled to move out a few weeks ago, but when I saw it, I didn't concern myself with it because his smoking wasn't too bad before the notice went up, and both his relationship with Y and his lease have absolutely nothing to do with me. So after asking him to stop smoking in the apartment a few days ago and his continued persistence in doing so, I decided enough was enough and went over to the leasing office and asked them what happened with that eviction. Turns out, he was supposed to be gone and is now trying to squat. His key was deactivated, so he stockpiled food and hardly ever leaves his bedroom. He must have made up with his girlfriend, who seems to be giving him food and enabling his behavior. He's also completely stopped picking up after himself and has caused some water damage to both the bathroom and the kitchen since moving in. I'll try locking him out if I get the chance, and if he persists after that, I can let the police handle the situation. Edit. His key still works. And then they posted on the 13th with this update. Update on Untitled Roommate. I had to call the police. They linked to the original story. I posted this up on a sub and people suggested I try to get the locks changed. So I asked, and no, they can't change the locks or even physically remove them before he's evicted through the courts. He also attended his court date, which pushes things back a bit. I felt bad for his girlfriend, so I gave her a booklet with some resources to help her with mental health and housing. Apparently, she also recently got evicted, so the office told me to call the police if she comes over. A few days after her eviction, she shows up and puts food in the refrigerator and a bag of clothes in her boyfriend's room. So I did as instructed and called it in. She left without incident, but I was kinda hoping he'd leave with her. I guess he somehow caught wind that I called this in and threatened me verbally and with a large knife about 7 inches long. So I lied and said I didn't call them, then went outside the apartment and called the police again. They talked to both of us, then left with him in custody. I saw he also had a machete that looks just over 12 inches long as he was grabbing stuff for the night. Neither of those weapons were confiscated. I don't want to escalate, so I'm seeing about staying somewhere else for safety. 100%. Get the heck out of there. He's smoking what everybody considers to be the gateway drug, and it doesn't always mean they're going to do harder drugs than this. But I can tell you, as somebody who lived in a small town neighborhood in New York for years, somebody who everybody kind of knew was a drug dealer in the area got attacked with a machete in the middle of the night over some drug deal gone awry. So do not stay there if somebody's threatened you. He sounds like he's got some issues. Either he's depressed or he's on some harder drugs than that, and he's gonna be a danger. Definitely get out, OP. And yes, regarding the attack with the machete, the person that got attacked got killed. It was behind my apartment. Not my apartment, thankfully. My apartment was like a townhouse that was redesigned to be apartments. I only had 3 apartments in the whole thing. But there was a drug dealer that lived behind my house that I didn't know about until I got told by my coworkers that it happened, that there was a drug deal that went wrong and somebody killed somebody with a machete. They went in there in the middle of the night because the doors were bad, the locks were bad, and they killed them. The whole town kind of found out about that, and my mom, of course, who lived near me as well, was concerned and saying she wanted me to move and everything, and I'm like, it's not my apartment, Mom. Crime is not that common in my town. It's just poverty and drug addiction that causes the issues generally. Anyway, get out, OP. Get out for sure. Down in the comments by PoppyCake1903, he threatened you with a knife and the 2 of you live together. I would check with a free legal advice tenant advocacy group in your area through the domestic violence laws in your state. If this is classified as domestic violence, then there are several states that require your landlord to let you out of your lease, no questions asked. Of course, this varies by state. I never really thought about that before. Domestic violence, I always thought was like between intimate people that live together, whether they're husband and wife or they could be a gay couple. I never thought that domestic violence might actually be roommates as well. Our stories for today have come to a close. Until we meet again, have an unbelievable day.